Persons under 18 will not be admitted.
Appreciate your choosing our theater. And to make this experience more enjoyable for everyone, we hope you'll refrain from talking during the show. Enjoy the movie. Thank you.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. We have very active lifestyles. It's not all wandering the countryside aimlessly or scaring passing motorists. And we all love a good cup of joe. And there's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. Bold, robust, delicious. It's coffee that can wake the dead. With over a dozen different roasts and flavors, Deadly Grounds can satisfy the most finicky of coffee addicts. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for, and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Oh, damn it. Hey, happy Wednesday, everybody. My name is Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here. And we have an awesome show for you scheduled today. And also, if you're tuning in via the radio, welcome, Dead Dork radio listeners. We are streaming live there as well. And Benjamin, how's it going?
WDR, Dead Dork Radio. Where the dorks get high and multiply. Oh, hi.
Hi.
I was doing my little radio voice bullshit thing that I like to do.
Is that a new chair? It looked like it was bouncy.
It is.
You got a gaming chair?
I do.
Nice.
Wow. Okay.
It has lumbar support, so I can take a nap during the show, just in case Jeff's boring.
Right, and it's new, so it's probably gonna fucking squeak.
Oh, no, that squeak's not the chair. That might be something else.
Is the squeak your bones?
You're number one, Jeff.
Yep. Yes, I am. So we got a great show tonight. I'm looking forward to this one. I want to apologize to our guest if I say anything that is offensive. But this one should kind of rock you a little bit. I'm looking forward to chatting with Mr. Neil Getzlow. I believe I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah, you got it right.
Excellent.
There's a first time for everything, folks.
Well, a lot of times I fuck people's names up on purpose just to get a rise out of them.
But not with the kindest.
Well, see, I'll tell you, my nickname in high school used to be Gets High, not Gets Low, but yeah. So.
Well, I'll take that for you tonight because I'm getting high.
Yeah, that's on you now.
I have to put up with these two every week.
You can do it without.
I usually do, actually.
I do perfectly fine without.
Yeah, but you have to have a drink with us. What's going on, Jeffrey? What'd you screw up? Oh, he froze.
Uh-oh.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah, he got a call.
He got a call. He'll be back in a minute, folks.
So Neil, while we wait for Jeff to do whatever he's doing, why don't you? Why are you here? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, I just recently wrote a book and published it, and it's out for the world to see. And it basically it outlines my journey from a 40-year addiction to pornography that morphed into a sex addiction that led me to getting blackmailed by a prostitute and ultimately found me being saved by God and by Jesus to pull me out of it. So there's a lot of different layers to unpack here. Not sure if you want to start in one particular spot, but
yeah, while we wait for Jeff to come back, I want to go back to the very beginning, your career, which led you to all these other things, I would assume, but you were a communications and public relations leader.
Yeah.
Can you explain just a little bit what was that? What is that?
Yeah, so in most of my career, I actually started off as wanting to be a TV reporter. I got a journalism degree, but realized very quickly that was not going to pay me any money. So got out of that and went into the corporate world, and basically, became a PR flack for a lot of big brands, dealing with the media when crises happened or trying to promote the latest product launch, and trying to tell stories around these different brands and a lot of them were global in nature. So it opened up a lot of doors, provided me a lot of resources, provided me a lot of opportunities to get into things that I probably shouldn't have been doing.
Right. So it's your fault that people drink Coke Zero.
That was not the one. But if you enjoy a Big Mac now and then, I can take a partial credit for that. I'll say that.
Okay. We can't hear you, Jeff. Your mic's not on. We can see you though, so just sit there and look cute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
But
we had a power surge.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, my fucking router rebooted. Everything had to reboot.
Oh, well, your mic didn't reboot. So, okay. Well, welcome back anyways, Mr. Holman.
Yes.
Back to our guest.
Well, I was gonna say, the thing you didn't hear me say was I'm not a Big Mac guy. I'm more of a quarter pounder kind of dude.
There you go. Yeah, can't go wrong. Quarter pounder, Big Mac, Egg McMuffin, you name it.
So did you work for an agency that was then hired by these companies, or was it for one particular company?
Yeah, I primarily worked directly with the companies, so it was an in-house PR person.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that, look, I'll just say it. Yeah, I spent quite a bit of my career at McDonald's, and it was one heck of a company to work for. I will say that they just to be inside that company, got to see how it works and to see it all come together, and it's impressive. I learned a lot there.
That is very cool, actually. Very cool.
I work in the corporate world as well, and a lot of people don't realize, like I worked for small companies for like almost all my life, and it's a world of difference. I could just imagine the stories you had.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm sure you probably can't tell a bunch of them too.
No, probably not.
No, you'll have to buy the book.
Well, hey, maybe I should write another book this time, just behind the golden arches. What stories lurk there.
Actually, that would be really interesting.
Well, so I don't know how much you can talk about, but talking about like the golden arches and PR, the whole. I'm sure you probably studied the history and stuff like that. When you were working for them, but like the whole hot coffee debacle. How much of that was like a PR push to try to discredit or to change the public opinion from like within, or was that just like media took it and ran with it? It's you hear different sides of the story.
And that was a little bit before my time at McDonald's. So I'm not sure exactly how, what the internal discussions were around that particular issue. Although I mean, look, if you have hand me a coffee cup and the lid's not secure and it's 800 degrees, yeah, I think there's a little bit of an issue there, for sure. The time I was there though, I sort of got to see the discussion around. There was a time when the company had to choose between, are we going to focus on how much calories are in our food or how the quality of our food? Because there's a big difference. And McDonald's went down the route of talking about calories, and it kind of went away from the food quality point of view. And I actually think that was probably a strategic error at the time, because right after that, it didn't seem like the whole world was talking about maybe what no one cares about. Because you talk about Chipotle, like people love Chipotle because it's good for you, right? Like it's good ingredient. But yeah, you're going to come out of there with like a 1,500 calorie burrito, so you could have 3 Big Macs for one burrito. So I think they just there's a lot of interesting conversations like that happen on a daily basis.
Yeah. No fast food is good for you. I don't give a shit how you look at it.
Well, there was a time when they were trying to do like the healthy route. I don't know if you remember, like, everybody was advertising their salads.
Oh yeah, they were pushing the salads and yeah. I mean, I'm a Wendy's guy anyway.
Oh boy. All right. Yeah. All right. Here we go. The train has
I just have to say the Baconator. Oh my God.
Right.
Everybody tuned in because they wanted to see this amazing guest. We're talking about fast food.
Yeah, Wendy's chicken sandwich. I like Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich too.
Listen, there's only one good fast food. That's peanut butter sandwiches.
Oh, yeah.
That's fast food. When I can just go and I walk away.
Dude, that's a whole nother discussion, because what kind of peanut butter do you use?
Oh boy,
Skippy, baby.
But crunchy or
see, I'm a Peter Pan guy.
No crunchy. Yeah, I know you're a Peter Pan guy. You're in the fucking tights. Relax. It's all right. We'll get you a tutu for your birthday, sweetie. You'll be fine.
So to try to bring us back on
Please do.
So Neil, talk about what you went through. What kind of time frame are we looking for? Was this something that lasted a year, multiple years?
Great question.
What was your involvement?
Well, so I would say like my addiction to porn, I'm going to say, started back when I was 9 years old. Honestly, that's when I was first exposed to it. And so I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s. So, the conversation was, you go to your friend's house next door, like, you go play outside in the yard. Then 15 minutes into it, like, all right, let's go find her dad's porn stash. And you go raid the closets, and boom, you found the mother lode.
Yep. Hustler and yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And there was also behind my elementary school, there was a little wooded area, and it was nicknamed the Playboy Forest. That's because there were these ripped up pages of Playboy strewn around this little campfire area. And we'd ride our bikes there after school. And, once the older kids cleared out, the younger kids like me went in there. And that's where I was first exposed. And from that moment on, it just sort of, I was stuck in like a tractor beam. And, it just didn't let go of me. And,
Now, way back at the beginning, when this whole thing first started, were you a boob guy?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Were you a boob guy?
I don't think I had a preference when I was, 9 years old. I think it was just whatever I'm looking at, it looked good to me.
Okay. All right. I got you.
So yeah.
Go ahead.
So that's kind of where it started. But I would say that I was the typical latchkey kid of the early 80s too. My parents got divorced, moved away from all my friends, moved into an apartment with my mom. Then she had to go work full time. So I was home alone a lot. And, on either side of her bed were these two nightstands. And on these nightstands were stacks of Playboy and Penthouse magazines. So what am I going to do? 11, 12 years old, nothing but time on my hands. I'm spending my time trying to cure my loneliness, looking at the pornography. And that's sort of how it kind of got wrapped into my DNA a little bit. And we can unpack that here in a little bit. But that's sort of why I first started using porn. Was I had this hole in my heart because I was alone and I thought nobody loved me. And this is a way for me to, what I thought would try to fill that up. Not to mention that was about the time that cable TV also came into existence. And so now I've got MTV full stream. I've got like little 10-second snippets of a scrambled Showtime signal that if you had the right moment late at night on a Friday, you would get something because of their softcore movies. Like that's like, I like to say like the culture was just seducing me all that time. And ultimately it just it started like any addiction, like any drug. It's not enough, and you have to go look more and harder.
Now, see, I'm a little bit older than you are, and I remember way back in the day, it was the Sears catalog.
Yeah, sure.
Would you look at that tractor? Thank you, Leo. Leo found the buttons, folks. He has sound effects now for Jeff. This is just going to get better.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, it's not like they were targeting the young guys, but in my opinion, in some ways they were. You know what I mean? I think that they were trying to create an audience at that point for when they got older, because let's face it, sex sells.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And think about it at the time, like at one point, Playboy actually had like real news articles with real reporters in some way writing about politics and all that. So I think there was kind of, to your point, like there was a sophistication to it for the older crowd of, you get the glory of the images, but then you also, there's some pretty interesting content in there too.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
I read it for the jokes.
Yeah, right. But like I wish I have this picture somewhere in my room of my dad's 50th birthday party, and I'm sitting on his lap, and I'm 10 years old, and there's this picture of him and his birthday cake, and the birthday cake is drawn on there was the grandma old lady from the Playboy magazines. I don't know if you remember those cartoons, but there was like an old grandma lady that would be very uncompromising art illustrations of her. And this thing was on my dad's birthday cake. And so it's just, it seeps in everywhere. And now, I think about my kids now who are in the 18 to 20-year-old range, and man, all you got to do is just pull out your phone, and 30 seconds later, you're looking at whatever you want. It's unfiltered, straight from the fire hose.
Exactly. And sometimes when you Google something, you think you're Googling, like, oh, this cat, and it's like, whoa, wait, no, that's not what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So,
How to blow out candles.
You gotta put
Yeah.
safe search on.
You gonna put what?
Safe search.
Safe
Right,
search?
actually, you probably disabled safe search.
Is that like parental guidelines?
Pretty much.
Oh yeah, no, I don't have none of that shit on my computer.
No, it's yeah. No.
Leo, listen, you're just gonna come up here from Connecticut and fix all my stuff. That's all. That's all.
But it is even in today's society, they're still pushing that shit.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
I mean, and I think, and I bought into it again for the good 90% of my life. I was right there loving the culture of it every moment until finally it took a few hits to the head, but I finally realized what it was doing for me, what that stuff was doing to my life, to my mental health, to my physical health, to my finances. But it's easy to get sucked into it because it's just sex sells. It's everywhere. In fact, I don't know if you saw this today. I just accidentally came across it on Twitter, and my eyes sort of melted out. Adidas has put out a new ad, and it's for a sports bra, and it was like these images of all these different breasts. Seriously, like just straight up, and like they weren't like, they were very normal. All kind. It was just interesting. Like, okay, like really, like that's where we're going with this. But hey, that's just me.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. 100%, because it's, in my opinion, it's relentless.
It is. It's nonstop.
It's absolutely relentless. I mean, I scroll through Facebook, just looking for something interesting, and it's like every couple of scrolls, okay, there's women's underwear ads. There's this, and it's like, come on. You know what I mean? Don't they know I'm a guy, so they're showing it to me, but I don't give a shit about the underwear.
It's based on, your previous search patterns.
I don't search for women's underwear.
You search something that, kicked in the algorithm.
Just saying.
I don't get any of those ads.
I don't get
okay. So I want to buy my wife something nice for Valentine's
Day. And that's what happened. That's exactly
what
I mean.
It could be Valentine's Day, or it could be you triggered some system where, you're now targeted as, a male, and, you're in some database somewhere, and that's how they get you with the ads. It's all.
I'm in a lot of databases everywhere, I'm sure.
Well, and the companies sell your information. There's I forgot. There's
you're supposed to click the box. Do not sell my information. Click the box,
dude.
Right.
I worked out a place that this guy was taking our catalog and selling it to, I think, Dun and Bradstreet, and he was like pocketing the money.
Nice.
Yeah, he handled our catalog sales, and it was
wow.
Yeah, so
So now it's my turn to bring this back on the tracks. Leo, where can they find out about our great guest?
Well, you can find out all the information in the show notes, up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us.
But there's a lot that we're going to get into, as you said, some layers to unfold here. Yeah. Before we get into that, because that's going to be a topic of discussion, I think that is just going to keep rolling. Leo, why don't you hit the commercial break a little bit early here?
Yeah, totally. And, just to get your mind going, we definitely want to discuss, what you saw as like the warning signs. What were those lumps in the head that you talked about, and some advice that you can give people, So, you know what?
Hit the right button, please.
I'm just.
Greetings, Spice fans. Silk City Hot Sauce is now sponsoring the Dorkening Podcast Network. Our craft sauces are made in Vermont in small, high-quality batches using locally sourced, farm-grown ingredients. Silk City Hot Sauce comes in a variety of heat strengths and killer flavors like Jezebel, Erotic Fever, Mango Madness, and Good Morning Jonestown. And don't forget our newest creation, Hot Syrup. Make no mistake, Spice fans, this is the queen of sweet heat. There's new and unique flavors coming out all the time. Best of all, right now, listeners of the Dorkening Podcast Network can go to silkcityhotsauce.com and use coupon code DORK. Not only will you get 20% off your order, we'll also throw in a free bottle of hot sauce. That's silkcityhotsauce.com. Coupon code DORK.
Thank you for supporting Actors and Others for Animals. We started a long, long time ago. So when you find an organization like Actors and Others for Animals, it sort of unites all of those of us who want to pay back something for all the joy we get out of animals. Please keep up the good work. Believe me, it's deeply appreciated.
And definitely check the show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to learn more. Joe.
Yay!
We're back.
We are back.
We're back. Yeah.
Go ahead, fire away, Leo. I know you want to.
Well, like I mentioned before, what were some of I know it lasted since you were younger, but what were some of the warning signs looking back that things were getting bad?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I don't think I even realized at the time what looking at porn was doing to me. But I would say, like, if I look back on it now, I think about what it was doing to the relationships I was trying to have with women. Like, I used to equate, again, this goes back to what I found out through counseling. Like, I didn't have the love of my parents and my family that I felt like I needed. So I looking for an outlet for that, which I thought I found in porn, but I thought that was real. I thought sex equaled love. And I thought the lines got blurry real quick. And so I was hopping from one relationship to another, looking for that, just looking for that, I don't know, fix isn't the right word, but looking for that sense of love. But I thought you had to have sex with someone to feel that love. And, it short-circuited my brain when it came to relationships. It short-circuited my brain when it came to how I looked at women, how I treated women, treating them as sex objects. That's all I was, that's really all I was thinking. But I'd also say too, like I mentioned, soon the porn wasn't enough. And then when I got to be older, I had money, got to be of age. Well, then it became clubs, and then it became adult entertainment or adult theaters. And again, you do that for a while, and you bounce in and out of relationships, and then ultimately, when that didn't work, I had to get the real thing, and ultimately that led me into the world of prostitution and paying women to have sex with me.
It's oddly enough, while you're talking there, our chat was getting bombarded by bots of.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to mention what they were saying, but
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They were quickly deleted. Thank you, Leo.
Yeah, I try my best, but the system is definitely rigged to take care of to target people's vulnerabilities.
Right.
And I could just imagine with any sort of addiction. Even you look at anything, it's a constant battle, whether it's sex or drugs or drinking or whatnot. I would imagine every day is a battle, trying to stay out of that. And then you get a stupid thing like bots or the system targeting,
It flips back to what we said before break, where Jeff said women's underwear, because it really is like that. You can search one thing. I searched fireplaces with TV mantles on Google, and every day I have 70 of them in my newsfeed now. So,
well, and your phones are listening to you.
Oh,
yeah.
totally. Yeah.
Like, I'm sure we're going to get on their phones afterwards, and there's going to be something tied to this conversation, some ad that's served up on Facebook or whatever social media account you're listening to.
Yeah,
I mean,
30% off Digital Hustler magazine.
Well,
maybe.
You know,
so here's a perfect example of this, and you know, some people try to say it's bullshit and whatnot, but it was around the holidays we were talking about different recipes, and I mentioned, you know, and this is something I've never bought online. I've only bought it at the supermarket, and you know, I haven't searched for it, anything. But I was talking about how I like to use red pepper flakes. And I must have mentioned it a couple times. And then a couple days after that, all I started getting was ads for red pepper flakes. It's fucked up.
absolutely.
Well,
Okay, but
so I have a question for you,
Yeah.
Neil. You know, when you were coming into, I'll say, maturity, and you were looking, you know, for dates and wanting to, you know, establish relationships and stuff like that. Was it more, and I'm going to assume, but you know, was it more of a sexual approach or a sexual need that you had over that emotional need?
Well, I think it was both, because again, my brain sort of confused sex and love, and you can have that emotional connection without having sex with someone and be, you know, have an intimacy that doesn't involve the physical part. So I kind of, for whatever reason, my brain was wired to believe that the sex was the intimate part, the sex was love, and those two issues sort of became mingled in my brain, and I couldn't separate them. So ultimately, the relationships I had were centered around sex. And, you know, if I'm being honest, once, just like, you know, you watch the same porno for, you know, how many times you get bored with it, so you go find a new one. That's kind of how I was with sex. And, you know, the sex was great when it was new, but after, you know, a while, but I had to move on because it just was, I needed something else to fill that void.
Okay. So it sounds to me like what was actually missing during that time was the ability to form that deep emotional bond with somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and I will say, like, and again, we'll get into this in the role that, you know, my faith played in sort of my recovery and all this, and how I kind of got pulled out of it. But in addition to that, you know, one of the things I always want to emphasize when I'm talking about is the importance of mental health, and making sure you're taking care of the mental side of things in your life. And so in addition to turning to faith, I also made sure I went and visited a counselor. And my wife and I went together to talk through our issues. But, you know, I went by myself for a few times. And, you know, I remember the first question my therapist asked me, he's like, what's the first thing you had to remember to learn how to do when you were a little kid? So I thought, that's a fascinating question. And then it's like a light bulb went off, and it's like, oh, I had to learn how to be alone, because my parents got divorced. My mom went to work. I was home alone. My siblings were all out of the house. Like, I had to learn how to be alone for most of my life. And so that meant I was taking that loneliness in my heart and filling it up with pornography. But what it did was it formed this shame cycle, which would start off with, well, I'm alone, nobody loves me, I'm going to try to make myself feel better by diving into X. And for me, it was pornography. And so I'd look at the pornography, I'd feel better for a little bit, but then when I was done, I'd have this overwhelming sense of shame and guilt. And then I'd say to myself, well, this is why nobody loves me, this is why I'm alone. And then the cycle would just repeat over and over and over, and manifest itself in many different ways throughout the bulk of my life.
wow.
Now, obviously, you know, you mentioned your wife, so obviously you're married.
Yeah.
Was it difficult to commit to something like that?
To commit to being married?
Yes, to commit to basically a lifelong relationship with a single woman.
So this is my second marriage, and I'll say the first marriage ended when I had an affair. So yeah, I mean, on the face of it, it didn't seem difficult, but I look back on it now and just wonder if I was, again, just jumping into these things because, well, that's just what you do when you're with for a long time. You just get married and live together and all that without thinking through the ramifications of all that. Now, I will say, my current wife, we're coming up on 10 years being married. The past 2 years of our life have been the best 2 years we've had together. Our marriage is better than it ever has been, despite all that ugliness I brought into our world. It's stronger than ever. So now I definitely believe in marriage and what it means to be with one person, but I had to learn the hard way what that was about, for sure.
Right. So you mentioned you had to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring us up a few steps. You had mentioned that, you were out there, you were at the adult clubs, you were paying prostitutes and others for, sex. So let's bring it up to the point where you got caught.
Yeah.
And basically you were blackmailed by a prostitute.
Yeah.
So, bring us up to speed, please.
Yeah. So like I said, you kind of, I was taking more and more chances. And I would say that probably my wife and I have been married 10 years. I'd probably say for the first, well, maybe for that middle part from like year 3 through 8, I was probably very consistently visiting with women and prostitutes. So that led me on a business trip. And again, I go back to my work before me a lot of opportunities to travel and be on the road. This was a business trip I took to Chicago in February of 2020, that last week of February. And it was just a random Thursday morning. And I don't know why, but I just, like, my anxiety kicked in and I felt like I had to go act out. And when I get anxious, that's what I turned to was prostitution. And so I set up an appointment. Again, there's no necessarily a sexual desire there. It's just like my brain just sort of disconnects and just kind of goes on autopilot. And I just, I had a mission that I was going to do, and that's what I set out to do. And went to this woman's hotel room, did what I was there to do. And then as I was getting ready to leave, the second bedroom door opened up in that room, and out walks this man. He looks like an offensive lineman from the Chicago Bears. He was dressed in drag, and in his left hand, he's holding up his phone, and on that phone is pictures of my wife's social media account and her cell phone. And he's like, "You're going to have to pay us more money, or we're going to call your wife." Very interesting situation to be in. And again, I put myself in a lot of risky situations used to that, but I've never been in a situation where I thought, well, this is it. Like, this is how it's going to end. Like, and I was determined I'm not going out at the hands of some pimp or whatever he was in a hotel room. Like, I need to get out of here. So I managed to. I probably got out of there maybe $900 lighter, which I think, looking back on it, I might have been easy on me there. Paid him the extra money, bolted out the door, but as I'm sprinting to the elevator, I can hear him open the door behind me, and they're yelling, "Hey, we're going to have to pay us. You're going to have to pay us more money, or we're going to call your wife." Well, with that, I made it out of the hotel room, and I went on with my day, and that's why I called the title of my book "Unmasked," because I went on about my day. Nobody knew what was lurking underneath the mask I had on. All they saw was this nice guy, hard worker, family man, good husband, good businessman, and I didn't let on. Like, nobody knew I was just a prostitute, just attempted to blackmail me. I went on my day with like, oh, okay, well, whatever. And because that's how I treated it. I mean, I just had this double life. I had this mask on my whole life, and it was just stuffing everything behind there. And so I made it back home to Kansas City after that trip. They had not called my wife Amy yet, so I'm thinking, okay, well, they're bluffing. They just wanted more money out of me. This is going to pass, and they'll get bored and forget about me, and life will go on. But this is the first time I say God visited me on that Sunday after the trip, March 1st, 2020, 9:30 at night. My phone starts blowing up, and it's text messages from this couple. They're saying, "You've got 15 minutes to call, 15 minutes to pay us more money, or we're going to call your wife." And then they also sent me a picture from the encounter I had. So now it's like, okay. Again, I just chose to ignore it, thinking you're just bluffing. Because if they blow me up, like, then I'm not going to send them any more money. But that was pretty naive of me. I'm sure they had plenty of marks, and once they realized I wasn't going to pay, at 9:45, I can hear the phone upstairs, my wife's cell phone going off in our bedroom, and I hear the muffled sounds of the conversation, and I hear the footsteps coming out of the bedroom, getting louder and louder, and then she, burst into my office, and she's like, "Are you cheating on me?" And of course, I did what any good addict or someone who was just caught did, which is I lied. I said, "Oh, this is the first time I'd ever done anything like this. I'll never do it again. I'm so sorry." But I was more sorry that I was caught than I was sorry about the hurt and pain I was causing my wife.
Right.
So that's kind of a lot of process there.
Yeah. No, that is a lot to process.
Yeah, that's tough.
So I would assume that was the first lump you took?
That was the first of three. And this, so think about the timing of this too. This is March 2020.
Yep.
2 weeks after that, the country gets shut down because of COVID. So now, and both of our jobs were impacted. So we basically were off together for 2 months, no job, nowhere to go. We're trying to deal with this big thing I dropped into our house, and it was awkward. And I still had not, I still had not found Jesus yet. So I'm still kind of like trying to figure out, okay, Amy, she kind of bought the story, but I knew, like, I think deep down she'd say she didn't, but I don't think she would say, like, she didn't really want to face it either.
Mm-hmm.
And so about 6 weeks after that first encounter, I'm home in Kansas City, and my addiction came calling me again. And I felt compelled to set up an appointment with a woman that I had known in Kansas City that I paid money to. And so I set up that appointment, but I do it all on my laptop. I was texting her. And when I leave the house, I make sure that my laptop is locked down tight, because I know if Amy got on here, she'd see all these things I was doing and would expose this double life. And so I make this appointment, shut down my computer, leave the house, and about 15 minutes later, my phone starts blowing up. This time it's from Amy, and she's now got onto my computer. Like, again, I never leave it unlocked if I'm leaving the house and Amy's around. Somehow I left it unlocked. She got on there. She doesn't know how to use the computer, but she managed to take screenshots of the conversation I was having with this other woman, texted them to me, and said, "What the heck is going on?" So, of course, I turned around, never made it to that appointment. And frankly, when I got home, I don't remember what I said to her, but it was just a bunch of nonsense, lies. My life was starting to unravel. I was running out of places to turn to. I was kind of trapped in a corner a little bit. I was running out of lies to say. And of course, whatever I was telling Amy, she wasn't buying it. not in the least, rightly so. And she told me before we went to bed that night, she's like, if you want to save this marriage, you're going to have to ask God for help. That's all there is to it. And so I'm going to take a pause there and just kind of give the backstory of why Amy did that to me, is because we got married before that moment. We got married 8 years ago. Before we got married, neither of us were believers in God. I think Amy grew up in a Catholic household, but didn't really have any connection to God, didn't go to church, that kind of thing. And I actually grew up in a Jewish household, but I consider myself an atheist. And so we lived a very worldly life, was out and partying and doing everything before we got married. And then 3 months after we got married, Amy approaches me and she's like, "Neil, I found Jesus. I'm a born again Christian now." Now think about the dynamics here. My wife of 3 months tells a Jewish atheist that she's now a born again Christian. I think I look back on it, and it sort of brought up these old feelings of I'm alone again, because Amy's got this relationship with God and with Jesus now, and she's found something better than me, so I'm going to start acting out again. Again, I wrongly blamed her for why I was acting out in these addictions, but that's really sort of where how those sort of triggered again after being married to Amy. And so fast forward back to the third and final time God visited me. Went to bed that night. The next morning, Amy had already left the house. She had gone somewhere, didn't tell me. So I'm laying in bed. So I'm like, well, I have nothing better to do. So I'm going to ask God for help. I got nowhere else to turn at this point. And I did. I prayed and I just asked God. I was like, I need some help. My life is unraveling. I don't know how to get out of it. I don't know how to stop it. Just give me a sign that you're out there, that help is available. And as soon as I finished that prayer, the garage door opened up and it was Amy coming home. And obviously Amy is the key to this whole story here. Mm-hmm. And she came home and I told her that, hey, look, I prayed. I want to work on our marriage. I don't want to get divorced. And I was really serious about that at the time. And, she, reluctantly agreed to, continue to work on things. She's still obviously very confused about what the heck is going on. And then finally that afternoon, we're sitting on the couch and this time Amy gets a text message. It's actually a Facebook Insta message. It was from some random guy we don't know. And all it said was, do you know Anil Getzlow? Well, it turns out, we later found out that guy happened to be the ex-boyfriend of another woman I had was paying to have sex with. He had found this woman's iPod or iPad and gotten all the messages that I sent her. Basically, was starting to text them all to Amy. But before that even happened, I finally said, all right. When Amy said, do you know this guy? I'm like, no. I was like, but I just had this overwhelming feeling that I had to confess everything to Amy. And as I write in the book, like it felt like I had to throw up. Like, and when you get sick, like you can feel it churning in your stomach and it just works its way up and you can't stop it. And all of a sudden just blah, all over. Like I just threw up all over the floor of our marriage and told her everything, confessed that I was addicted to pornography. I had been paying prostitutes to have sex with me for a good portion of our marriage. And I will say, just like you do after you get sick, I felt instantly better. I did feel relieved, but then I was waiting for the left hook to come because, what was Amy's reaction going to be? And what she did, changed my life. And again, this is just my experience.
Right.
Like she looked up at me and she's like, Neil, she's like, Jesus forgave me for my sins. How can I not forgive you for yours? I forgive you. And that moment changed our life. It really did. I have not looked at pornography since that day, April 14th, 2020. I've not been tempted to visit a prostitute. I have not been tempted to do anything related to sex, except with Amy for the past 2 years. Like I got this freedom, and like I said, it changed our lives. It changed our marriage, and it's because because of what God did, and because of Amy. Because of what Amy did.
Right.
Now I got a question. During this whole time, that story is it's just unbelievable. But
it is.
During that whole time, obviously there was guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you were feeling remorse. How did that affect you emotionally, and did that help you try to, come out of this hole that you were in?
Well, I would say like before I kind of got uncovered or unmasked, if you will, that was one of the things that I kind of, what my therapist told me, he was like, because I was a terrible communicator with Amy, but he's like, you had so many lies in your head that you were trying to keep straight. Like it took up all of your brain power, all of your energy to keep those straight. So yeah, it's no wonder I couldn't have a very deep conversation with her, because all I was thinking was, is what I'm telling her going to unravel all these lies I've been sharing? And so they just took all my brain power. But I will say, like, post this all going down, I brought a lot of evil into my house, and I brought a lot of evil into my marriage and into the world, into my world. And yeah, there are moments where you just look back thinking, you feel, of course you feel guilty and remorseful now. But I would say, like, I use that as motivation now because, Amy's forgiveness, it was helpful for a couple of reasons. Obviously, number one, it gave us a fighting chance to save our marriage. It really eliminated the bitterness Amy could have carried around with her if she harbored this. If she didn't truly forgive me, she would have carried around this bitterness for a long time, and our marriage would have just disintegrated. But it also, Amy's forgiveness, what it didn't do is it didn't absolve me from any accountability or any responsibility for my actions. I had to own up to those actions that I did, and those things that I did. I had to admit him. I had to talk about him. I had to share the nitty gritty details to Amy because she absolutely turned into like a forensic detective after this all went down, wanting to know everything about what I was doing with my time, with these women, with our money, that kind of thing. I had to learn how to take accountability again for the decisions in my life and what I was doing. And so, the story is hard to tell. It is unbelievable. I sit here today and think, how did I get here? Like, I never would have predicted I would have found Jesus and given up everything that I thought I used to love, but I did. I still can't can't even believe it myself sometimes.
Now, do you blame anybody? Do you have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as how you got to that point, do you blame social media? Do you blame, the advertisers and what they push in front of everybody on a daily basis? We talked about that a little bit earlier. Do you lay some blame on society for the path that you ended up taking?
Yeah, I mean, society, I think, definitely puts a lot of stumbling blocks in your way. And if you are susceptible to that, like I was, and if you, like most people are, not that we're gullible or anything, but that stuff appeals to us because that's just what we're, kind of been programmed to look for. But I would say, like, yeah, social media played a role in my actions, and what I was looking at on TV and watching on TV absolutely was playing a role in my actions. But I would also say that it wasn't until, number one, I had to realize what my identity was. Before, my identity was built on everything in the world. It was built on my career. It was built on how big of a house I had, what kind of car I drove, how much money was in my bank account. That was my identity. Today, my identity is rooted in God. And when I have that as the center of what I focus on these days, it makes the things, the social media and all those things of the world, those are less important. Those are less of a distraction. But I would say, like, everyone's got a choice, though. Those stumbling blocks are in front of you. I used to blame everybody but myself for my problems. It wasn't until I finally turned the finger back at myself and said, hey, maybe there's something I'm doing wrong. Maybe there's something going on with me that I need to take a look at and stop blaming, blaming my parents, blaming my mom. Why did you have all those, pornographic magazines there?
Right. Thank you, because that was the point of the question.
Yeah. I did. I absolutely blamed everybody else for the problems for a long time. And it wasn't until I sort of flipped that thinking that's helped me get
personal responsibility.
Yes, 100%. Yes. Be accountable for your actions.
Mm-hmm. That's missing in society today.
Heck yeah, it is. Yeah, we've got to take accountability for what we put out in the world. No question about it.
Yeah.
Agreed. Wow. It's been the Jeff and Neil show tonight, and I'm totally digging it. So
there's so many layers and rabbit holes you can go down on this.
Well,
but
a lot of these layers and rabbit holes that you speak of, these are in your book, correct?
Yeah, they are. And
see how I did that?
I like that.
Nice.
See how I did that? We don't want to give away the whole story.
No.
We want to give them a little bit of the juicy parts, but we want them really to go to your website. We want them to purchase the book. We want them to read. If this is something that is in their life as well. Yes,
my book focuses on, part of it is my faith journey. Like, that is part of what got me out of the life I was living. But I think there are also some pretty practical tips I like to think of things that people can do if you are, want to escape some of the addictions or want to, fill up on the good stuff in the world. Like, there are things you can do. what I used to say is, like, I used to fill up on the junk food of the world, which is, the cable TV, the Netflix, sports was an addiction of mine. Drinking was a problem for me. Smoking pot, was a problem for me. Like, all that stuff contributed to this lifestyle I was leading. And I had to replace all that. I canceled cable TV. I canceled Netflix. I slowed down my sports watching and replaced it with stuff that filled up my mind with good stuff, I called it, which was, spending time with my wife, what a concept, and reading the Bible and going to church and spending my time doing other things besides what I was looking at before that was taking me down this other path.
Well, I think that a lot of people they search for things just to make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
And that's a society problem, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Because I believe that everybody should feel good about themselves anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And society makes it really, really hard to do that, because you're supposed to be like this. You're supposed to be like that. You're supposed to look like this. You're supposed to eat this. You're supposed to watch this. You know what I mean? And I think it's making it harder.
When the country's very polarized, society is very polarized right now. And I know we don't want to go down politics or any of those other things, but we can say society is very polarized, and you're right, and so it makes it hard to, there's just a lot of angst out there right now. And the pandemic, created a lot of anxiety for people and, uneasiness. And, again, for me, like the pandemic, and I know people, people have lost loved ones, and I've had people that I know that have passed away over the course of the pandemic. But for me also, I would say, like, the pandemic for me was like probably the best thing that could have happened to me, because in my mind, it was God saying, I'm going to take away everything in life that you love. I'm going to take away your prostitution. I'm going to take away your pornography. I'm going to take away you going to the bars and running away from your life because I'm closing down the bars.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take away sports because I'm shutting down sports for a year. Like, you've got nothing to do but focus on resetting your life. What are you going to do with it? And that's what I did. I hit the reset button big time. And I reset my life. And, I think whether it's pornography, whether it's alcohol, drugs, whatever, we're looking to fill ourselves up with something to make us feel better. And again, for me, it wasn't until I started filling up my heart on my faith journey that that's when I was able to kind of walk away from all that stuff.
Wow.
In the comments, Kyle made a couple comments talking about smoking a joint right now, but being addicted to video games, being a bit more serious, you can totally be addicted to video games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
It's absolutely anything can be addictive.
Anything. Like I said, I was addicted to sports. Yeah, I mean, I know that seems hard to believe, but I would literally watch sports all weekend long. Even up to 2 years ago. You name it. It was on ESPN 8. I was watching it. The marble racing, I was watching it. Like
the marble racing.
I couldn't, I don't know. Again, it was just something that, and here it is, like, my identity was rooted in my sports teams. Mm-hmm. If the Kansas City Chiefs won the game, I had a great week. If they lost on Sunday, my week sucked, because my identity was so rooted in how that team was doing, like, that I just couldn't separate it. And I got addicted to that high of every week. Man, they're doing great. But then you got to deal with the lows. And fortunately, away from that.
Is that kind of, this may sound weird, but living your life through the ups and downs of others?
Yeah, sure. It was a way. It was a way to take the focus off the pain in my own life. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. For sure. Without question.
So let's say, somebody realizes that, they may have an addiction in their life. What are, some steps that you would recommend somebody take?
Yeah. So, again, for me, God was a part of the equation for me. I realize they may not be part of the equation for everybody, which I understand, and I respect that. For me, I replaced, again, first thing I did was sort of replace the negative things in my life, the negative influences in my life, and replace them with positive things. I found myself an accountability partner, someone to help keep me accountable. If I feel like I'm going down the wrong path or something, I have someone that will check on me, or and kind of check me and make sure that I'm staying true to what I've committed to doing. For me with pornography, there are apps you can put on your phone, even beyond the safe parent thing or the filters or whatever. Like there are apps you can put on your phone to block that. I didn't have to do that necessarily, but what I did do was I put a location tracker on our phones. So now my wife knows where I am 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. And that helps build the trust. That helps keep me accountable. And then again, I would say also, I think it is important that if you truly are suffering from an addiction, that you go talk to someone about it. Like, and maybe it's a professional counselor, maybe not. Maybe it is your significant other or partner. Maybe it's a friend, but you got to talk to someone about it. You can't keep it in, because I think that's what I did for most of my life. Honestly, I kept it all bottled up inside, never talked about it with anybody, and it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy a little bit, because I needed help, but I thought I could handle it on my own. I'm strong enough. I'm big enough. I can deal with all these on my own. I don't need anybody to help me.
Right. Well, you don't want to be looked at as a bad person either.
Yeah. Right.
And that's kind of an ego thing.
Sure. But
so you got to let go of that.
It's okay to ask for help. It is.
Right. Doesn't matter how big or bad you think you are.
Yeah, it's okay. And I get that. I get asked a lot, like, why are you being so public about this? Why do you want to talk about the worst parts of your life with people? And I want to share, because I want people to know, like, there is hope, and there is life on the other side of whatever addiction you might be going through, or if your marriage is hitting a rough spot. Because believe me, if my marriage can survive pornography and multiple sex outside of my marriage, then I promise you, your relationship can survive if you're mad at someone for not taking out the trash, or right. Whatever. Like, again, like if we can survive our problem, then I know people can survive
right
what they're facing too.
Right. Now, I think that it's really important for you to tell your story for two reasons. Number one, it can help others.
Yeah.
But most importantly, it's helping you.
Absolutely. 100%. Like, and even the act of writing the book, like, if I sell any books, like, I shouldn't be saying this, but it's true. Like, I don't care. Right. I've already won, right? Because that book helped me. It helped rebuild my marriage, because Amy was right there with me after every chapter. I let her read it, and she would weigh in and fill in the gaps to tell me that wasn't right or whatever. And it was very therapeutic for us. Right. So now it's just
awesome.
Now it's, like I said, it's not about selling the books. It's really truly about helping people and just trying to bring some hope into a world that needs it right now, I think.
Right. So, Leo, where can they find out about this guest and his books?
Yeah, definitely. Check the show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. And, I could see definitely, with writing the book, you profited emotionally, but, that any sort of like creative outlet is just, it's not stuck in here anymore. It just gets it out into the world,
Yeah, and I'd say, like, in talking to you guys and talking to some other shows that I've been on, like, it's I'm getting this urge to do my own show. And again, it's like not to just, again, it is sort of a creative outlet, but it is a way to just continue the healing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just as a way to keep talking about it and help. And I know, like, even though my story is pretty unique, I got to believe there are other people out there that have just as interesting stories to tell. I'm
Well,
sure
of course.
you can attest to.
Yeah, of course there is. You ain't that special.
That's right. You got it, man. You got it.
But I am going to say this. If you are serious about potentially doing a show,
I
let
think
us
I know what you're going to say.
You know exactly what I'm going to say.
I do.
Our show that you're on right now is one of 40 plus shows that run on the Dorkening Podcast Network.
Mm-hmm.
We're always looking for unique content, unique shows, and people that are willing to build as they go.
Yeah.
So if that's something that you're serious about, I'm not. And this is live. We're broadcasting right now on.
Oh yeah.
What are we up to? 15 platforms now.
Something like that. Plus radio.
Plus the radio and plus the 19 podcast channels worldwide. It's great content. And I mean, addiction itself is something that everybody can associate to.
Well, I was just going to say, your story can be applied to so many different things.
Right.
You know what I mean? It really can. I mean, I've got my own. I'm not going to get into it from years and years ago, but that's why I think everybody's gone through something like that.
Yeah,
I agree.
And addiction, like you said, could be anything. Could be anything from the porn, sex, drugs, to like Kyle said, video games.
Yeah.
I mean, their addiction is so wide that a show like that, I think you guys, I mean, that would be. I would give it some serious consideration, and we'll talk more off screen, behind the scenes later on. Because the guru right there in the corner, he's amazing at what he does. He's over in Connecticut. Jeff and I are in Massachusetts, and you are in
KC Kansas City.
That's what I thought. I was going to say it, but I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, you got it.
So being able to do things like this, you can reach so many people worldwide.
Yeah.
And for guest wise, you can bring people in from all over the world. We actually had a guest on a few months back from Australia.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And we've had guests on from the UK. So, I would give it some serious consideration.
Yeah, we're kicking it around.
Well, you definitely have a story to tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that it fits, like I said, it fits in everybody's everyday life. I don't care what it is.
Yep. And you're not afraid to talk about it. That's the thing, is a lot of people that have addictions, and trust me, I have a son who has an addiction. I have a brother who has battled addictions his whole life. It's doing very well now. Yeah. I have other family. They're afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
And to see something that you went through, that might help that
right.
one
Well, that's
person.
part of the healing process. Yeah,
it is. And like you said, when I talk about my story, I do feel encouraged. It makes me sort of happy to know, because I can talk about where I was and what I kind of overcame to where I am today. It's always a good reminder. Yeah, man, I was doing some pretty ugly stuff, but.
Yeah, but you want to know something?
Yeah.
People care.
Yeah, you're right about that. That's one thing I've learned about through all this. People do care about other people. It's even though you don't see it every day, it's not something that's, the news doesn't like to focus in on some of that stuff, but they like to focus on the controversies.
Well, that's why we do these things.
Yeah,
right.
You're right.
Seriously, the show that we produce, or that Leo produces for us, is a very wide variety.
Yeah.
And that's why we said backstage, we don't discuss politics and we don't discuss religious point of views.
Sure.
And that's how I should put that from now until the guests, is religious point of views, because a lot of people do have religion in their lives and they bring that into the show. But,
Yep.
Your beliefs are your beliefs, my beliefs are my beliefs, but that does not mean we can't be friends.
Absolutely right.
Well, it's the biggest thing with the world today.
It's funny because I called Ben probably about 15, 20 minutes before we were going to be signing on,
Like he does every
And
week.
like I do every week.
Yep.
And, typically I do research on the guests and I try and find out as much about them as possible. And I expressed a concern that, I didn't know how this show was going to go just because of the subject matter. And, but to be honest with you, it was just one of the best shows I've done.
Yeah.
Because it touches on humanity.
Right. Right. And, it's great. And if you guys want to find out more about what Neil went through with his wife and everything, you got to get the book. Unmasked is available in the show notes up above, down below.
And if you buy the book off my website, we are donating $5 from every book sold to Run to Stop It. It's an organization here in Kansas City, but they use the money they raise to fight against human trafficking across the U.S. So it's obviously an important passion point for us now, just given what we came out of. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, I appreciate you guys having me on, having the conversation, because I know it's not easy. It's not the most warm and fuzzy topic. It's real.
It was a great topic.
It's an important topic.
Exactly. It's an important topic. And like I said, we had somebody on from Australia. That was a similar style show. That gentleman's name was Michael Crossland. Mm-hmm. If you just look up Michael Crossland, you'll go, oh my, he's one of the most sought after inspirational speakers in the world.
Wow.
Same style show. We really, really enjoy these style shows because, like Jeff said, and you've said, it touches on humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Life is not all about being warm and fuzzy.
No.
It's not.
No.
Because there's reality involved.
Yep.
There is. But, if you're able to, I think everybody has the power to be able to take the bad stuff in your life and turn it around and turn it into something good, for sure.
Absolutely.
Right. And if you can help one or two people along the way, you did your job.
It's just one person. That's all I ask. If I can help one person, then all of this has been worth it.
Right.
So
yeah. And not to get religious or anything like that, but you mentioned where was I going with this?
I have no idea.
Yoda.
No. I'm a firm believer that your life may go down the wrong path, but like everybody has a path, and every now and then you'll get pushes into the right direction, and your life will change, and you'll if you put into work and meet life halfway, you're going to be put back in the right path.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason.
I think I've said that before. Like when I asked you to do the live show 3 years ago, I said, "Hey, everything happens for a reason." Shaking his head. But I know you do. I know Leo does have another show.
I do.
45 minutes. So, any last questions from us or in the chat?
Well, I just wanted to say real quick for Neil and for everybody listening or watching, if you are interested in a show, definitely, talk to us. We don't take any ownership of anybody's content. And, we do help facilitate guests and stuff like that. So this is meant for, everybody watching and for you, Neil, as well. And we can definitely, discuss that, later. But I know a lot of places like to, take ownership of content, and we're not about that. So,
it's all yours.
Yep, totally.
All right,
we can help put you up on a pedestal.
Nobody wants to be on a pedestal.
It was a joke. I got him to laugh.
Yeah,
we got real serious here tonight. There were very, very minimal jokes, and I honestly thought that Jeff being Jeff was going to have a few.
I did. I did. I really did. There were calluses were involved.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But that is the amazing thing about this now. My wife and I have got to the point where it's awkward, but we do joke about it now. And to me, that's a great sign. Like, okay, I think we're going to be okay here, because every once in a while we'll be driving in the car and we'll pass some sketchy looking hotel, and she'll look at me kind of side eye, and she's like, "Did you ever meet anyone there?" And then she just busts out laughing. Like, it's just like,
Well, and that's how you got to do it.
it is. It is.
It's part of the healing process.
Yes.
It is. But I just, again, just encourage everybody. If there's someone, forgiveness is real, and it helps just eliminate all that bitterness. Don't carry it around. Let go of some of that, and you got a chance to heal your relationships, and be better for it.
And a word to the wise, not everybody's going to be your friend and be supportive when you reach out.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Nope.
But there will be, you will find someone.
But you will find the right person.
100%.
More people. Yep.
So
on that note, Leo, I know you want to show Neil. When he closes out the show, just hang tight. Don't jump off on us.
Got it. Yeah.
Cool. Go ahead, Leo. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for watching this fine evening or listening over on Dead Dork Radio. For me, just Google Leo Pond. You'll find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. I'm not going to say which is which, but I run a little thing called the Dorkening Podcast Network. As Ben said, about 40 shows on the network. Ton of awesome people doing a ton of awesome stuff. So head on over to thedorkening.com. You can learn more about it. And we're actually going to be doing a show at 9 p.m. Season finale of Boba Fett was today. And
you better not have any spoilers.
Oh, it's going to be all spoilers.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be driving down to Connecticut. I'm going to have to go watch it before you show them.
Yeah.
Why are you putting it on me? I'm last.
Well, you were chatting. It'll be a lot of munchie talk. But for those in the know, we'll anyway, Neil, where do you like people following you?
Good. If you go to my website, neilgetzlow.com, you can find me there. There's links to my social media on Facebook, Instagram. You can find me there. You can email me there. Seriously, if you want to just reach out and you need someone to vent to or talk to, just send me an email through there. Love to connect with you.
Awesome. And by the way, Moochie, not Munchie.
Huh? Moonchie, not Munchie.
Okay.
Moochie?
Is that the frog's name?
No.
What frog?
No.
Forget
what the fuck is a frog?
No.
You know what a frog is?
Moochie is a rancor.
What the fuck is a rancor?
Forget it.
Jeff.
So, stilltoking.com. Follow us there. Neil, thank you very much. That was inspirational, enlightening. And I'm going to go give my wife a big hug when I'm done with this show. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And she's going to give you a big lump.
No, she'll kick me in the balls.
Yeah, she'll give you a big lump. Leo found the button.
Yeah, he did.
I'm so surprised.
Yeah.
But no, in all seriousness, we want to thank Neil for coming out and sharing his story tonight. I think that it really helps him with the healing process, but I hope it helps somebody that's watching or listening to us tonight to reach out, ask for help, and try to kick the addiction. To all our veterans and first responders, we want to thank you for doing what you do every day so people like us can come up here and do what we do. We're out of here. Be safe. We'll see you next week.
Bye.